What's up? We are back from our break. I hope you guys are hydrated and snacked up and fooded up and ready to get started. Once again, we are here in the losers bracket, getting started. Despite they might have lost their first match, but that does not mean that they are out of the game. We are here to do the first round of losers.
Yeah, it's going to be Nobore versus Os. It's a very interesting matchup. Nobore, I believe, being the only reverse player in the entire bracket. So that's a preference, so it doesn't really give an advantage, but it's going to be something interesting to note.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes people will play, different speeds, and will occasionally, check the other person's chart, just to if there's like a speed change, and that makes it a lot more difficult to do. So not a very common thing. I certainly wouldn't say that happens often at all, but
yeah, just let me copy your homework.
So what's our song picks here?
I need to look. It was Trip Machine and then character I can't say because I don't know how to read it.
Nobore.
Okay.
DJ TAKA remix.
For the weights for this round, these are actually pretty tough picks physically, which is going to be really interesting. I know Nobore focuses a lot on uppers. Let me see their scores. Wow, Os almost having a PFC on that, and Nobore not having a score at all. A little worrying, because this is the X special indicates that it's a little freaky. It's got a lot of crossovers, really tough to read patterns, so
if there's one thing
sight read is going to be tough.
There's one thing to say about the X specials is that they love to trip you up, and especially with Trip Machine, the songs made to trip you up.
Yeah.
Sort of get that double stack.
Yeah, a lot of these, like, the rule of thumb, right? So if you're a player that's like pretty new, or if you don't play DDR at all, usually you're used to seeing, like basic, beginner, whatever, all those other difficulties for a song. Whenever you see something that is a challenge and only a challenge, it's going to be a very wonky and really hard to read chart. So we're just going to have to see how this goes. Also, almost having a PFC on this is actually insane. But I know they've been playing a lot of 14s lately. And I don't really have the scoop on like Nobore's MA. Because I just know they've been pushing a lot of uppers recently. So hopefully that transfers over to these lowers. Os taking a quick early lead on these step jumps.
Yeah, those step jumps are starting to make the gap a little bit wider here. Os holding the combo.
Yeah, Os's MA is really, really crispy right now. This is great. Nobore doing a great job on this sight read, getting really tripped up by those it's like spins. They're really hard to play as intended.
That's one of the things with these older charts, is that a lot of them just have very, very tough patterns to execute.
Yeah, it's that DDR mentality of like, am I going to double step this or am I not? And if you've already locked into playing it maybe as intended or like doing the crosses, and you start on the wrong foot, like Nobore here is just opting to double step on that pattern that would normally be a spin if you start on the wrong foot, but obviously you don't want to do a spin. If you're playing in tournament, you're holding the bar and everything, it makes it a little tough. But Os taking it there by about 50-something EX, I believe. Oh, never mind, 100.
They got the green full combo here.
Yeah, nearly a PB for money score for them.
So we're going to go to the next song, Nobore.
Yeah, this is going down to a 12. This will be a lot more physically lenient on these players. Neither of them really seem to struggle, though, with the physical part of it. Nobore, obviously, with that being a sight read, it's going to be really tough to be able to kind of read your way through it, especially with a chart like Trip Machine X Special. But this should be basically just a pure MA battle for both these players.
I think this one is a chance to be much closer, much, much closer.
Yeah, and also for clarification, Nobore, they entered the bracket with the name Nobore, but their team uses Alex. So if you look on StartGG, it'll be under Nobore with the OSU RDC prefix. Both players reading this at 4, so about 600 speed. And Oz taking a slow lead here in the beginning, holding that white combo.
And the first perfect has been dropped here. Really good gap to start out.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the cams since you can't like see the actual panels. But Alex's form is staying very minimal on jumps, and then was spreading out a little bit more for crossovers, and is really like going for it right now. Whereas Oz is putting a lot of force in the steps, which is helping him keep that Marvelous window unlocked. So it's a really interesting like dichotomy of their play styles here.
That gap continues to raise. We're at about a 50-point difference.
Yeah, Oz really showing how locked in they are to that MA window. I know they've been focusing a lot on their MA lately to prepare for specifically, I mean, this tournament, but also using this kind of as that step stool to really rocket them into Mistake on the Lake later in October and try to make sure that they're performing on all of these picks that are in these lower levels, so then they can bring that up back into the uppers to like 15s and 16s. It's also really impressive. This song has a lot of those yellow notes where it's just the kind of like isolated gallop, and Oz is doing a great job actually locking into that 16th note window. It's really easy when it's just those, you know, red blues to not really have that subdivision lockdown. But Oz taking it by almost 100. They're about 70 EX again here.
Oz held that PFC with a 37 perfect number.
Yeah. Yeah, great performance. Really, really solid, consistent. I'm really excited to see how Oz does for the rest of the tournament.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're doing, is this winners? Or are we skipping down? Okay. So, yeah, we're going down to DJ versus Four-Eyed Alien. This is a crazy matchup. Who did DJ play in the first round? Okay, so we were going to go to VTAN, but VTAN is running behind, so we're just going to do this next match of losers instead for right now. DJ got knocked down to losers by Jade, which I feel like that would have been very close. It says it was 2-0. I'm sure that was a very close match, though. Both of those players very equal in skill, in my opinion, at least. Yeah, DJ kind of like a mainstay of the 614 crew here in Columbus, showing up to Hilliard, Dave & Buster's pretty much every Wednesday, getting his funk on. This is why we have these player cams here. This is great. This is content.
So we're going to get to Party Lights. Expert 11, something that you really don't see too often, except with the older songs.
Yeah, I'm really not familiar with a lot of these older ones that have like ESPs that are around like 11 and 10. But the songs are always banging. I know Saturday Night Love, one of my favorite like lowers to warm up on. Yeah, if you're looking at these cams right now, DJ's form is very, very solid. It really does remind me of like a robot kind of playing.
Now Jade, a player from Northern Kentucky, she actually has not been playing that long at all, really since November, and the performance improvement that she's shown throughout the past half year has been incredible. Really fun to watch, and you can see even here, just even with her MA on these lowers, just really impressive to see where she's come without any, dance experience.
Yeah, it's really cool when, like, as someone myself, I haven't really been in the community like too long comparatively, I guess, to some of the older players. But even just being like in the Bomani community for a couple years, it's really cool to see someone like brand new come in and then watch them perform in these tournaments to see how much they've improved. Because I haven't even really gotten to play with Jade much, but I remember Austin and Jade are really good friends, and so they would always play together and post scores. And this is a huge step up. Great score too, holding that PFC, DJ.
Yeah, DJ held that PFC, but really Jade didn't fall that much far behind.
Yeah, and like in a tournament setting, right, with that perfect to great ratio, that would really tank your money score, but in a tournament setting, keeping those perfect counts low is really the most important. Because every step down, right, Marvelous is the most, and then you get one less for each judgment below that. So instead of, you know, a great tanking by 10,000 or a big amount of points versus a perfect only being 10 less than a Marvelous, it's a really big difference.
So we're moving on to Snow Prisms. ESP, there's 12.
Yeah, this song has a lot of weird rhythms in it, and being at 200 BPM, it can be really tough to keep up with them. I don't think that 12 has many like yellow notes, but those syncopated like jumps and stuff that are in this difficulty are really tough.
And even without that many yellow notes, at 200 BPM, that's still extremely taxing and draining.
Yeah,
as we say, we have a few.
Yeah, that's a really rough intro, but DJ staying white there. Very crispy steps here to start out with. Yeah, a lot of these songs are in that 200 BPM range that have these weird rhythms that usually stay on that 8th note grid. It's really easy to just kind of lose yourself, especially if there's other stuff going on in the song, like with this song. So you really have to stay focused and kind of listen to your steps, match them to the music to stay locked in. Yeah, then here's these syncopated steps here.
DJ right there had a pretty good, strong Marvelous streak.
Yeah, DJ's MA has been insane. It's also really interesting to use that sudden plus, that slight like amount of sudden plus. I know some players use that for like the white cap lateness and stuff, so that you don't see like the after image of the notes. I'm not sure if that's what they use it for, or if it's just like a preference thing. But I find that really interesting since it hides the top half of the receptors. Wow, DJ is so locked into the Gallops.
Oh, the Gallops took his PFC.
It's also really interesting to see on the Gallops where it'll make you like cross over which players opt to foot switch instead of do the crossovers. Yeah. Great match, yeah, for, I mean, getting knocked down early. Jade's definitely putting up a fight. Do you want to say a word to the wonderful viewers?
Hello, everybody. Hi.
So we're going to move on to VTAN and Frange. Disfigure Noir. Do we have a song pick, or do we have a song list?
Card draw.
Do we card draw?
Do we have a card draw?
They're gonna play whatever songs their hearts feel like playing.
All right. So we have, first up, we have District of the Shadows, difficulty 12. The second is Keep on Movin', DJ Boss remix. That one is a ESP 14, and if we get to a third, it's going to be the least 100-second.
Yeah, District of the Shadows is a little bit slower, more step jumpy. I think most players would say it's pretty easy to MA for a 12, but to PFT it's a little bit higher up. So we'll have to see how these players deal with that. It has a lot of weird patterns. At 150 BPM, it can get in that range where holding down like streams is weird, but it really just has like step jump stuff. and it has a lot of really like long kind of flowy breaks. Like you can hear in the preview, honestly. It has like long build-ups, and it's really hard to stay focused during the kind of like, I guess you could say more boring parts, but it's just the build-up.
Absolutely. We love to see some DJ Norikin and DDR.
I love this song. This
Great
song is one of my favorites. Yeah, and VTAN being a Vivid player, I don't remember if they were Nobore. There was a Nobore player. I want to see who it was. I think it was VTAN, but I don't know. It's really cool seeing these players that like I've never really like heard of, or if I've like heard of them and it's just kind of in passing, show up and get to see them play in person.
Are we starting out VTAN with his Vivid node skin? Something I always love seeing with some of these players is that Vivid, because you know that they choose that intentionally, and it help. I'm not a Vivid player, so I can't really say too much on how it helps mentally, but it's something you don't see very often.
Yeah, a lot of those stuff that's like preference, like skin, node skins and whatever. Like I'm a reverse player, and a lot of people will say like, I don't know how you read that, stuff like that. It really just is like, when you first started the game, you know, what did you pick and like build your muscle memory with? So, you know, you see a Vivid player and you're like, okay, they probably played like back on like a home release or something like that.
It's true.
And so you always just gotta, I want to talk to him later and see like when he started.
Yep. Frange holding off pretty good. We've got a green combo right now. Pretty sizable lead.
Yeah, that section's one of the few ones that kind of breaks out of that normal 8th note grid. Like I was saying, this song has a lot of jacks, and you'll see earlier it had a bunch of step jumps and stuff. And at 150 BPM, it's manageable, but it can be in that awkward range where it's really hard to stay locked in. Like for a lot of players, they would say like 180 BPM jacks might be easier to time than the slower ones. So it really just depends on what you're used to, what you've kind of locked into your brain. Frange staying really ahead here, keeping that lead. VTAN holding really cool, great combo dropping just there at the very end, a double step jump.
Frange hold that PFC, not PFC, good lord, GFC.
Held PFC for a while at the beginning.
Great play, great song. Something we love to see.
Yeah, another interesting thing too, when players have that early late enabled, it's really cool to see like where they drift towards. Because everyone has their own like gripes, you know, with cabinets and offsets and everything. Everyone has their own kind of like lock-in, and they'll say like white cab's a certain amount behind, stuff like that. But each player kind of internalizes that beat differently. So it's really interesting to see, you know, one player might drift really early on a chart while another one might be, you know, dead on. So it's also really interesting to see players that don't have that turned on. I think it's, you know, that difference between timing stuff like orally, like with your ears, versus timing it visually with the receptors. Some music game theory for you. Something to keep up in your noggin. But we got Keep On Moving ESP 14 here. Cold start there with that 16-note stream. And this chart's going to have a lot of these yellow notes that are really rough to MA. Frange taking a pretty decent, pretty sizable lead early on with these yellow notes. I was going to make a joke about this chart looking like McDonald's with the golden arches, but with Frange having the EMU's name Taco Bell, I feel like that'd be a disservice to him.
Yeah, we got the fast food jokes coming.
Yeah. I just ate, so I have no place to be making fast food references right now.
Frange still holding on that combo.
Yeah, this song is also in that weird like BPM range. I believe it's 128. So timing these streams is like, and like I was saying earlier, like a lot of players would argue that like the higher BPM you get, the more comfortable it feels to actually time. So when it's stuff like this, where it's like gallops and syncopated stuff with these yellow notes, it might not look as hard as some other charts that are faster, but in a tournament setting where it's really just all about that marvelous window, it can be a killer.
And that irregular rhythm broke Frange's combo, but after that, this has got some really interesting rhythms in here.
Yeah, Frange taking that by a couple hundred EX, really showing a great start here in these loser rounds.
Really,
it was pretty sizably. Huge shout out to VTAN though, coming out playing on Vivid, rocking the Hawaiian shirt. We love the vibe.
The vibes are immaculate.
Vibes are immaculate. But yeah, thank everyone in the stream right now. We got 85 people pulling up for this wonderful tournament. First time we've ever held a DDR tournament here at Round1 Fairfield Commons. A lot of our TOs, first time running something like this. A lot of the managers here have been spectating and kind of keeping an eye, seeing how like this kind of stuff goes, right?
Are we good on voice? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. We're all set. Perfect. But yeah, we're out here at Fairfield Commons, very first tournament. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces, a lot of interesting matches coming up ahead, so stay tuned.
Yeah, and for this match, we got Lainey versus CeilingFam. Lainey, I believe, coming from it's like North Ohio or like Pennsylvania area. And CeilingFam being from 614 crew here in Columbus, shows up a lot for Hilliard Dave & Buster's.
The 614 crew out here representing.
Yeah.
They are putting in the work, and it shows. Oh, we're playing EDSM? Okay, okay. I enjoy the song.
Yeah, Sync's pretty dead on. So we'll see how these players handle this.
Probably a blind play for Lainey since they don't have a score.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, Lainey mainly being like a pump player for the most part. But their partner is also here competing, Shibe.
Yes, yes.
They actually went against each other in round 1 of winners.
Yeah, that was actually, I believe I commentated that match. It was a really good match too.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Someone like that, like you know someone so well. So it's really hard to like kind of break out of that like mental image you have of like how good they are at the game, because no one really would know better than you and themselves. So it's hard to like break that that nervousness. Oh, I actually lied. I said earlier that Nobore was the only down scroll player. I didn't know Lainey played down scroll.
Oh yes, that is true. Lainey did go down scroll.
Yeah, and something really interesting about these two players, if you look at their form, like focus on how their bodies move, for a lot of stuff where your body's like facing a certain direction, CeilingFam is really like actually going for it, where Lainey's trying to keep a more centered form.
Yes.
So Lainey definitely preserving a lot of stamina with that and is able to combo a lot of this stuff. But really, CeilingFam is just taking that EX lead by a decent margin here in the beginning.
It really does depend on what you're more comfortable with. A lot of people are used to keeping their bodies in more tighter form for like the lower stuff, but probably for like higher difficult charts, or if they want to like upscore or get their combos on point, they will put that extra force on their form. That way they can, you know, for sure hit that step. Like I don't want to mess this up.
Yeah, both players handling that stop pretty well. CeilingFam's
coming up to the end of the
is
song.
just growing.
Yes, just coming up to the end of the song here. CeilingFam with a pretty good lead so far. I believe Lainey with a full combo.
Yeah, Lainey definitely getting those streams pretty locked down.
My mistake.
Even with that minimalized form. Yeah, it's a really interesting match here, like with these two like very different forms. And like even with the steps, like I can hear CeilingFam's steps from here, right?
Yes.
And as a competitor, like when your opponent has really loud steps, especially like if your steps are more quiet, it can be really like weird to lock into your own internalized rhythm, because everyone like kind of feels that beat differently, you know. And so if your opponent is tending to step early, which CeilingFam was, I believe, was kind of leaning slow there. So like if they have like that, you know, bias, it can really get into like your mental and kind of mess you up a little bit. I know some players at like the really, really high level with ghost stepping opt to do like wrong ghost stepping, or they'll like ghost step off beat to try to throw their opponent off.
That is a tournament strategy, actually. A lot of people will ghost step on purpose just to kind of throw off their opponent, and nothing says that you can't do that, you know?
Yeah.
And as long as you're comfortable with keeping your rhythm, then by all means.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all about adapting to that tournament environment too, you know?
Yeah.
Here we go with In the Air.
Yeah, dropping down from a 14 to an 11. So we'll probably see a little bit heavier steps here and players locking into that without the worry of having to do 140 BPM streams for measures at a time.
CeilingFam on the lead, but Lainey is not too far behind. It could turn around at any moment.
Yeah, both players just hitting a little early on these. It can be tough, like when you drop into lowers where there's a lot less notes. If you're not fully subdividing, you know, where there's longer breaks in between notes, it can be really easy to rush.
Yeah.
That's like the big thing with all music games, is it's just super easy to rush when you can, you know, play faster than the song is. You have to restrict yourself.
Yeah, it's very confusing when you're going from 15 with high BPM, with high runs, to a slower song like an 11. It can definitely throw off your timing. So, yeah, the fast, maybe, you know, they're completely justified. So,
yeah, CeilingFam doing a great job here though. Getting really long like white strings. Both players holding that full great combo right now though.
And there we
really
go.
Short song.
CeilingFam taking the set. The 35 perfect, one great. Oh, okay, okay.
The flag, yeah, and yeah, both players.
Both
you
players
know,
got really good scores on that song.
That's great. Yeah, but stepping up on the pads right now is Shibe and, oh gosh, who is that? I don't even recognize them. Definitely an out-of-stater. Brother Nori, never mind. Okay, so I've never actually met Brother Nori, but they've been posting a ton in Ohio DDR, posting scores, and they're also one that like started relatively recently. That's been improving a lot lately. So they're like a wild card where it's, you know, you can't really tell unless you're like completely keeping track of them where they're at.
There we go.
So it seems like we're gonna start with Sakura Storm the 13. Another song like we saw Snow Prism earlier. It's another one kind of like that, whereas those weird like syncopations.
Yeah. Still very fun 13 in my honest opinion.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting here from Yono. Does not have a play on this song yet. We'll see how it goes though. Anything can happen in this tournament.
Yeah, Yono rocking that Ohio DDR shirt.
Yeah, rep.
They're a Dayton local, so they play on these pads all the time. And they're the Nobore player. I was wondering who it was earlier because I saw them. So both of them playing Nobore.
I just realized Shibe is also playing Nobore.
I know Shibe kind of like plays semi-bar, where like they'll go off and on.
Some love for the Nobore plays.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I know Shibe plays a lot at GLM, which is the Round 1 up in Cleveland, Ohio, a lot.
Yes.
And they've been improving a ton. Like they've been focusing on like pump, going in between, working on physicality, working on MA a lot. Like I only get to see their scores every once in a while, but every single time I'm blown away by the scores they're able to set. And here, I mean, they're pulling ahead by about 100 EX over Yono.
Yono's still putting in the work though.
Yeah, these players are really going for these twists.
Don't count them out just yet.
It's also really interesting to see that huge difference in speeds. Yono playing this on 2, and Shibe almost having an entire 1 above them. Ah, but they didn't do the spins at the end, so they're both disqualified. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome. This is some.
Shibe taking the first song.
Yeah, both players having really similar MA, but Yono just falling behind on that great count. That's really interesting to see because I know Shibe plays a decent amount of Nobore off and on. So being able to hold MA on a 13 like that, where it's a lot of movement, is really impressive.
Yeah.
Then we're staying inside the 13 folder here. I'm not sure which song we're going to though. Heartbeat Formula.
Heartbeat Formula.
Really up in the BPM here.
Going up to a 230.
Yeah, Yono again not having a score set on these. I believe they do stay like in the kind of lower range more often. So I think a lot of these 13s you won't really see scores from them. But they're really performing for seeing these for the first time.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of 13s and 14s are the black sheep of DDR due to the fact that a lot of people go from 12 straight to 15. And what that ends up happening is like a lot of these 13, 14 songs come up in tournament, and then people don't have the knowledge, and that kind of throws them for a loop. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you know you gotta be cautious of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when you go through the levels, right, where they start to introduce different kinds of patterning. Like the 13s and 14s, they really kind of like they feel relatively similar. But a lot of times it's just that difference in physicality or like how fast they are, how dense it is. So there's not really much different in like how they'll actually pattern stuff. So a lot of times when you feel comfortable, you know, reading like crossovers, but like physically, like 12s aren't really a problem. Yeah, a lot of times you'll see players like kind of jump through levels really fast and not really stay in like the 13 folder.
We have Shibe with a pretty good lead, about 50 points. Both players with a full combo so far.
Yeah, this song, for being a 13, it's a lot more physically intense, being at 230 BPM.
Yes, seems like a very straightforward song, very physically intense.
Especially with Nobore, right? Those
that's what I was
syncopated
about,
jumps. You start to get into that rhythm, and then when you have the stuff that's like syncopated, especially jumps, it's weird to like shift your body and kind of change where you're holding like the downbeat on.
Yeah. I believe we're coming up close to the end here.
Yeah, Shibe really just holding it down on the MA front here. Pulling ahead by over 200 EX and taking this 2-0.
Shibe takes it.
Big hug.
Big
Nothing
hugs
but
over.
love and respect here.
Good stuff from both players.
That's awesome to see, a no-bar match.
Yes.
Especially in 2023.
We need more no-bar players. We definitely need more no-bar players.
So right now, this is still losers. So a loss here, you're eliminated from the tournament. We played up until winners quarterfinals, so none of the quarterfinal matches have been played yet. Dreyvas got knocked down by Garrett, the tag Bear.
Yes.
Who?
We all know Garrett's insane.
Garrett's been kind of like a FFC like cryptid recently. Like they would come out all the time and set some insane scores, take a lot of area records here in Ohio, and then haven't really been playing much. And they were even talking to me earlier. They said they really have, like, they came and played like a warm-up set and that was it. And so they have not been really playing much DDR. But I mean, coming out and I'm looking like they 2-0'd Dreyvas. They're going up to face Blue Tiger, and the next round, it seems like they're performing. So
yes, Garrett definitely going in.
yeah.
Oh, here we have Step Machine.
This is a really, really rough 14 to score on.
Yes. It is a banger song, though.
Yeah, notorious for having really, really strange rhythms. A lot of yellow stuff, a lot of yellow jumps. Then has a really rough crossover section towards like the end, like middle end.
Everybody in chat knows the words. I'm a Step Machine. I never miss a beat.
Lil Blake opting to not turn those and is gonna be double stepping some of this stuff here. Yeah, Dreyvas handling these weird rhythms here really well. Shifting between that those two like different states of mind with the yellow staying in that 16 note grid to going into triplets. It's a really like a trained thing. Like you have to have that lockdown. You can't just like show up and switch between the two.
Yes. This chart especially gets very, very rough towards the end. A bunch of crossovers. Dreyvas still maintaining that lead.
Yeah, Dreyvas pulling ahead by a ton, handling a lot of this weird stuff really well. Physically, it can be really hard to stay into this chart because there's a lot of patterns which kind of force you to double step if you're not like fully committed to doing all the turns. So it'll wear you out very quickly, especially where it's like stuff where it's like a gallop into a double step. Because you're kind of throwing your whole body into that. And yeah, both players are opting to double step.
We're coming up to the final section with all these crossovers.
Yeah, and these stay triplets for a while, but you really got to dedicate to these turns. Little Blake going for it, but just picking up a couple misses here into the end. Seems like Dreyvas is going to take this by a couple hundred EX coming into these final streams. Bum, bum, bum.
And Dreyvas takes it.
Little Blake doing great. I believe that's a PB from them. I mean, their previous score was just shy under 800,000.
Yeah.
So that's a money score PB. Dead on with the fast slow too.
Yes.
Blake with the uppies.
148 to 148. That is.
The crowd's
And
going
the
crazy
crowd
for
going
Blake.
crazy for Blake.
This is the home crowd spirit. Okay.
Interesting pick.
Yeah, this is a strange one. The BPM, it stays at 1 BPM. It just starts slow and then speeds up. So this can be really tough to knock a PFC out on because at the beginning it's really easy to choke. But Blake coming in with a sight read. Dreyvas having a 985 on this, close to that AAA. We'll have to see how they handle this beginning. And past that, it's just a lot of blue notes, a lot of eighth note stuff. Yeah, that's tough.
Tricky slowdown right there.
But both players staying relatively close in EX. And then it's just 203 BPM for the rest of this. Lots of blue notes, pretty straightforward. Not a lot of stuff that's like that tricky. Dreyvas taking a small lead here. Able to handle those syncopated jumps.
Both players keeping up their combos.
That's a tricky one.
Oh, unfortunate miss for both players.
It can be hard to tell like which way you're supposed to be facing in that pattern because it's like you don't know if it wants you to twist it or not.
Yeah.
That's the stuff with like, that's a problem with a lot of charts like this where it's like you have the notes and then it ends on a blue, like with that syncopation. It can be hard to tell like if it's wanting you to start the next one crossed or not. So like mentally it can be really exhausting even though like it's fairly straightforward like if you're studying the chart, say, because it can be really easy to be like, okay, this is what you want, or this is what the chart wants you to do. But when you're actually like executing, it can be really weird to kind of link that with your brain to be able to do that in the moment. And you kind of have to make those split-second decisions.
I believe Dreyvas takes the second song, and that would be the set.
Yeah, a lot of these losers round matches is going to be players that like lost high up in the winners, and then some players that like lost in the first round. So it might be a little unbalanced, but players really performing their heart out here. Blake getting PFC, or not PFCs, but PBs on both of those charts, so
Still
the
very
crowd
good.
going crazy.
Very good from both players. And right now, I believe we have KidCrab and VENGNCE. currently doing their SOM picks.
KidCrab and VENGNCE, both players being Ohio. VENGNCE mainly being a Dayton resident. Does a lot of freestyling.
Yes, a lot of freestyling with VENGNCE.
Very fun to watch. You guys should definitely keep an eye on their player cam here.
Definitely, VENGNCE is a riot to watch.
Yeah. And KidCrab being OSU RGC person, 614 crew, grew up playing DDR, has been playing this area for a long time, so a lot of players are really familiar with them. They've been making huge gains lately. They graduated from OSU recently, so they've been out going to GLM a lot, setting a bunch of machine records. So they're definitely an underdog here. I mean, starting the losers bracket pretty early after losing to, I think it was it RC1?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. Yeah, after taking a loss pretty early, they're gonna be looking to pick up the pace and make a losers bracket run here. Definitely no slouch. Looks like we're gonna start in the 14 folder here.
We are starting with RPG. Clap, clap. Everybody has to do the clap.
Yeah, for a 14, it's really straightforward. A lot of players really like to shoot for this one for their first 14 PFC. But that being said, it is a 14, and it has a lot of drills. So a lot of 16th notes. And for MA, it's not terrible, but it's kind of a thing where it's like tournament nerves can kind of shake you off of that lock-in. Because you might have it at 1 second, then if you're off, dropping a lot of perfects or even like a grade or two, it can be really hard to get back into it. Oh yeah, he's already starting the freestyle.
All right, everybody at home, I want you to clap along.
This is like a mental strat for VENGNCE here. Is like, if you look like you're having more fun than your opponent, like they're gonna start to question themselves.
Yes, I can totally relate.
Why am I not having as much fun as him playing DDR right now?
My prior match with VENGNCE, the reason I zoned out is like, oh, he's doing freestyle. Oh, okay.
Especially when he like spins and stuff. It's like, oh, whoa.
It's definitely a treat to watch.
KidCrab holding up PFC here. VENGNCE dropping a couple here and there. KidCrab coming up by about 20 EX. We'll see how this shapes up when we start to come into the chorus.
About a 30 to 40 point lead from KidCrab.
Yeah, a lot of those longer drills can really be kind of like a patience test.
Oh,
yeah,
and there we go. Here we go.
We love it. Yeah, the drills can definitely be like a patience test. You kind of gotta wait for the notes, as like silly as that sounds, because it can be really easy to rush them. Here we go.
All right, here we go.
500. Staying locked in though. Handling those drills really well. VENGNCE dropping a couple here and there.
And the crowd clapping along with the chorus. Coming up to the end of the song here, KidCrab still with a pretty good lead.
Yeah, for how much like movement VENGNCE has in his form, he's really keeping his stamina very well to be able to handle this like really drilly 14.
And KidCrab takes the first game. Still very good stuff from both players, especially considering this is probably a sight read for VENGNCE, considering they had a 0 on their first.
Yeah, probably just like a pick fail out.
Yeah.
Whatever, but yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to see like the difference between these two players, how animated VENGNCE is, and then how locked in like KidCrab's form is.
Yeah.
KidCrab's like form really reminds me of DJ, which is another Columbus player. They stay very still, and they really only can like use their energy for when it's really necessary for stuff that they're forced to twist. And like they've been playing a lot of uppers lately, and I've been playing for a while, so you kind of get that like brain where you're used to like reading stuff where you know whether it's gonna make you cross over or not, or like ask you to start on a certain foot. Which is, it's a really like, I don't think a lot of people talk about that, like that skill of reading where it's like just kind of getting into the mind of like the DDR charters, knowing, are they gonna want me to do this or not?
Exactly.
So we got this basically a sight read for KidCrab, it seems. VENGNCE is doing a spin to start out, but taking a miss. P-Light songs are always really upbeat. These step jumps are really rough, or I guess jump steps. KidCrab taking a small lead at the beginning here. Yeah, another thing too, I mean, KidCrab is stepping very quietly, like similar to some of the other players before, like Lainey, that like I'm saying, conserve their energy a lot. And when you're playing with another player like VENGNCE, who steps really loudly, it can be really easy to kind of lose focus,
Yes.
or kind of adapt to their jump step or their steps in general.
That is also a strategy some players use. They tend to step louder to kind of keep their rhythm in priority and to throw off their opponent. Again, viable strategy. A couple of misses here from VENGNCE. They're still not out though.
Yeah, and this 13-beat, it's pretty front-loaded, like with the weird patterns. It kind of has that intro where you kind of twist a little bit, and then it basically disregards it for the rest of the chart. So it can be a little daunting when you have that like beginning on a sight read where it's like, okay, this is gonna have some weird twists, and then it doesn't have that for the rest of the chart. You kind of have like this preconception when you're coming with a sight read that's gonna ask me to twist a lot. But it seems like both players are adapting to that really well, staying pretty rigid and MAing these eighth note streams.
KidCrab with about 150 points on the lead. Coming up to the end of the song, and he takes it.
KidCrab is taking a couple misses there, but taking the set 2-0. Pretty solid stuff. So we'll see how these players do. I mean, JobberGodot, again, I've said this for Jade before as well. A player that started very recently, kind of came out of nowhere, started coming to Hilliard Dave & Buster's, and was like, I want to get into this, right? I want to start playing this game because you guys all look really cool playing like 18s. So he started coming out more consistently and then joined the community, and then it becomes this thing where, you know, you have this community that can push you further, lead you in the right direction, so you're not just kind of mindlessly playing by yourself every time you go to the arcade. And he's really grown into like a really well-balanced player. Like, he can kind of do anything the game asks him at any point. And so we'll see how this goes with Sydia, who is mainly an SMX player nowadays, and has really been focusing on pushing like their upper limits. So it seems like for this, I don't know if we're playing the expert or the difficult of this. I believe it's the DSP. No, it is the expert, so it is the 15.
Expert. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so we are going straight into
Yeah,
the
this is.
15.
Ooh. I hope these players are warmed up. This is a rough 15.
Yeah. Very fun 15 though.
Yeah. Yeah, for like what the chart asks you to do, it can be really fun to execute if you've like played it a couple times. But for a sight read, maybe for Jobber, this might be a little rough.
Yeah.
Because coming into it blind, it can definitely throw you off guard. So it seems like, too, the card draw does not slack even after this, because after this we'll have Romancing Layer 14, which is another 14 that can be very, very rough to execute. JobberGodot taking a lot of misses on these yellow notes here. It can be really hard to internalize this rhythm and read ahead for this, but Sydia doing a great job holding this great combo. Yeah, and for sight reading, like a lot of the 15s, you know, a lot of these songs are going to have more unique rhythmic patterning, just because it being a 15 allows the charters to actually utilize like the actual melody. And so a big thing for sight reading stuff is locking into that like rhythmic motif. Like you'll see it again, stuff like with the yellow notes where it goes but up, but up. Once that happens a couple times, you start to expect it and lock in, and you start to, you know, understand, okay, this is kind of the rhythmic style that the song is going for. JobberGodot falling into the reds there.
Yeah.
Staying alive.
Still staying alive though. Sydia with a pretty convincing lead, 300 points.
This is pretty much the only brick the chart gives you, and it goes right back into it.
We're coming up to the end of the chart right here.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Neither of these players opt to stay crossed over for a lot of the patterns where it'll do the 16-note crossovers and then do it where you cross back over. And both players opt to double
and
it,
the
but
crowd
Sydia
going crazy.
taking it by about 350 EX there. JobberGodot staying alive, taking a PB.
Shout outs to Jobber for clearing the 15.
Yeah, shoutouts to
Yeah,
the
let's
614
go!
crew. Jobber, is that his first 15 clear?
Yeah, that was
First
his
15
first
clear.
15 clear.
In tournament?
That
Can we
is
give this guy a medal?
insane.
I'm gonna buy him a beer later. I think he's 21. Maybe. I'll buy him a soda later.
We'll get him a soda slash beer
Yeah.
slash beverage.
We'll get him a soda Galaxy. All right, then we're gonna be hopping into Romancing Layer. Another really rough
Very
14.
tricky. Yes, very tricky 14.
It's not another, but it's a rough 14.
Very goes along with the rhythm, very much so. You'll be noticing.
Yeah, I think a common theme with a lot of 14s, especially around this BPM range, is it'll use a lot of step jump patterns to kind of keep you moving the entire time, which is I think fairly unique coming from like 12s and 13s, where it doesn't really like use that density fully. So like in the 150 BPM range, like a chart like this, you'll see a lot of like, you know, jump, 16 notes, jump. So it's just like really tiring, and that'll be, like I said, that's pretty much what most 14s are that don't have like super weird gimmicks or like weird patterning.
Yes, and Chad is correct that this used to be a 15. I believe it was re-rated to a 14.
That makes sense. Yeah. So we'll see if Jobber can get his second 15 here. Second 15 player. Yeah, if there's any like argument for it to be downrated to the 14, it would probably be the BPM. Like the type of chart it is pretty similar to like what we saw in Procyon, just slower. Both players holding that full combo. Sydia pulling ahead by about 100 EX though. Yeah, another one of these sections where it's the 16 notes, then jumps, and then 16 notes again.
Very rhythmic middle section there with the runs.
Yeah. Yeah, stuff like that when you're jumping and then going into like 16 note patterns that are just completely straightforward. It's hard to read it because if you're jumping, moving up and down, like a lot of times you can drift your eyes if you're not like focused in reading ahead. So it's like that jump, you dedicate to it, and then shifting your legs to accurately time those 16 notes.
Yes, there we go.
Sydia taking that second song by pretty much the same lead that they took the first song by. So they're going to be really happy with this. That's your second 15. Pretty much.
Yeah.
It was re-rated.
The crowd going insane
Yeah.
for Jobber taking the song.
Yeah, being able to come out here and play in a difficulty range that they really are not used to at all is really impressive. Because, I mean, a big part of like tournaments when you enter rhythm game stuff is like you kind of have that range that you're comfortable with. And so, like, say you start in your comfy range, you win, you go on to the next one, and it's like, you know, you get bumped up a level, then it's just a whole different, it feels like a whole different game.
Especially at tournaments.
Yeah.
When the pressure's on, you gotta give your 110%.
Yeah.
I believe we'll be
It can
taking a
be very
break
intimidating.
here. 'Cause we just finished our last match of losers round 1. We'll be taking a short intermission. But
Yeah, we'll give these players a little rest time while we get the next matches set up, get this cab reset, get the players hydrated. Make sure you're drinking your water. Shouts out the Ohio DDR crew. Thanks to everyone for pulling up, everyone watching in chat right now.
Yeah, shout-outs to
been
chat. Shout-outs to everybody tuning in. Y'all are the real G's. Much love.
Yeah, shout-outs to you, Frange. Thanks for commentating with me.
Thanks for commentating with me, Orca.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, I just came here as a spectator. I got kind of roped into it, but I'm
it
down.
all worked out.
I'm down to hop on the mic whenever. I love getting behind the desk, getting to watch. Getting the best in the house, getting to watch this, firsthand. It's great. Get to watch some good ass DDR.
Some good ass DDR. We will be right back, so don't go anywhere.
Cool.